The first sound was glass breaking. Then the hush that followed. A hush so heavy even the piano man's fingers froze above the keys. She was already inside the saloon when the doors stopped swinging, her rags clinging damp with travel dust and sweat. Her feet were blistered, her lips cracked, but her eyes carried the kind of loss a man remembers even in his sleep. Years of hunger, years of silence, years of being unseen. Tell me, have you ever watched a crowd smell weakness like wolves? They turned toward her all at once, cowhands with their boots muddy from the stockyards, painted girls with their laughter sharpened into knives, card sharks clutching their whiskey. Some grinned, some jeered. One man spat in the sawdust just to hear it hiss. Outside, the desert wind pressed against the shutter boards. It rattled like a bone rattle, whispering of storms gathering on the horizon. Heat came with it, thick as a fever. Somewhere in the distance a horse screamed. Whether from a rattler's strike or a broken leg, no one knew. And there she stood, framed by yellow lamplight, a ruin of a woman. Yet in the gambler's chair at the far table, a man dropped his cards and forgot to breathe. His heart stalled like a Colt misfiring, for in her hollow face, in the gray blue of her gaze, he saw what he thought the grave had stolen, his wife. But how could it be? His wife had been buried under cottonwood roots by the riverbank 3 years past, her grave marked with nothing but a pile of stones and his own breaking pride. He'd drunk himself half blind to forget, wagered his soul in smoke-filled rooms. Now fate had dealt him this, a ragged ghost in flesh, staring back like she knew him. The saloon held its breath. Then came the laughter again, rough and mean. Someone tossed a coin at her feet as if she were a beggar come to dance. She did not bend. She did not even blink. The gambler rose, his chair scraping wood like a pistol being cocked, cards scattered, whiskey spilled. Every man there felt the shift. Something older than chance, heavier than law, had just walked in and claimed a seat at the table. Mark it well. This was not the start of a game, but the end of one. For when the dead return, they do not come quietly. The coin spun on the floorboards. It rang sharp as a church bell in the hush, then rolled into a crack and vanished. She didn't move. Neither did he. The whole room seemed to bend toward the space between them, the ragged woman in the doorway and the gambler rising slow from his chair. Elias Gray had faced death at card tables and gun barrels alike. But this made his blood stumble. His wife had drowned in fever 3 winters ago, her body lowered into the cold river earth by his own hands. He had kissed her hair one last time, promised her soul peace, and broken apart before anyone could see. Yet here she was, every bone sharp with hunger, every step carved by miles of dust. Alive, or some cruel echo of her. "Do you see her, Gray?" one man muttered. Another chuckled. "Looks more like a stray dog than a woman." Laughter rippled, mean and shallow. Elias ignored it, his eyes locked to hers, and for a heartbeat he thought he saw a recognition. Then the veil of weariness dropped, hiding whatever truth lived behind them. He stepped forward. Anna. The name scraped his throat raw. Her lips parted, but no sound followed. Instead, she swayed, catching herself against the post beside the door. A hand gripped Elias's shoulder, heavy, calloused. "You know this wretch?" It was Harper, the rancher who'd lost half his herd last spring and never stopped carrying the bitterness. "She's not your concern," Elias said. His voice was low, dangerous. The saloon watched, hungry for a fight. Even the painted girls leaned forward, their laughter curdling into curiosity. Anna drew a breath, thin as a reed in the wind. "I need—" She faltered, then tried again. "Water." The barkeep barked a laugh. "Not charity here, sweetheart, coin or nothing." Her shoulders stiffened, pride even in rags. She turned to leave, but Elias moved first. He caught her wrist gently, too gently for a gambler rumored to break men's fingers for cheating. The feel of her skin, so thin, so real, nearly undid him. "I'll pay," he said. He tossed a silver piece onto the counter. The barkeep snatched it up, muttering, but the room's eyes stayed fixed on the pair. Anna drank in silence, each swallow trembling down her throat. Elias watched, trying to reconcile memory with flesh. The woman before him bore scars his wife never had. Her hands were rougher, her face leaner, her hair threaded with dust. Yet the eyes were hers. "Why are you here?" he asked softly. She set the cup down, gaze cutting into him like broken glass. "Not for you." The words hit harder than any bullet, but in her voice, buried deep, was a quiver he remembered from nights of whispered promises by firelight. The crowd shifted, disappointed the scene hadn't turned bloody, but danger still stalked the air, sharp and waiting. A man at the corner table shuffled his deck too loudly, a warning perhaps, or a threat. Outside, thunder muttered against the desert sky. Anna pulled her hand free. "I can't stay." "Then you'll explain," Elias said. It wasn't a plea. It was a vow. For when the dead return, they do not come quietly, and he would not let her vanish twice. The thunder broke closer now, a long growl rolling across the desert like the voice of something ancient. The lamplight flickered against the saloon's smoke-stained walls. Men muttered, shifting in their chairs as though they too sensed the air thickening with fate. Anna turned toward the doors. Elias moved to block her path. "You'll give me an answer," he said. Her eyes narrowed, tired but unyielding. "Answers don't bring back the dead." The words stung because he knew she wasn't wrong. And yet she stood there breathing, defying his grief with every heartbeat. "Tell me what they did to you," he pressed. She shook her head, a bitter laugh breaking loose. "What they did? Elias, what did you do?" "You buried me." The saloon gasped, a ripple of whispers cutting through the smoke. A gambler cursed under his breath. Someone dropped a glass. Elias's jaw clenched. He remembered the fever, the body that would not stir, the silence he had mistaken for death. "I buried a woman I loved," he whispered. "I buried the only light I had left." Her lips trembled. "And left me to claw out of a shallow grave." The room fell to stone silence. Even the storm outside seemed to hold its breath. Elias staggered back a step, his soul buckling. If her words were true, then the weight he'd carried all these years was more than grief. It was guilt. Anna steadied herself, though her frame shook. "I wandered, town to town, half alive. Folks saw a ghost and turned their faces. I begged, I fought, I stole bread from dogs. Every mile I swore I'd never look back." Her voice broke to a whisper. "But then I saw you." Elias reached out, but she didn't take his hand. Her pride stood taller than her rags. The saloon couldn't hold still any longer. Harper barked a laugh, cruel and sharp. "So the gambler's ghost wife comes crawling back. Fitting, ain't it? Gray, you've always had the devil's luck." Men chuckled, but it was nervous laughter now. They smelled blood in the air but couldn't tell whose. Elias turned, his eyes cold as river stone. "Harper, sit down." But Harper rose instead, gun heavy at his hip, words thick with spite. "No, I say we toss this stray back to the dust. Ain't no place here for beggars or liars." The room shifted, boots scraping wood. Hands hovered near belts. Anna lifted her chin. "If you're going to kill me, do it clean." The storm cracked open then, lightning bleaching the windows white. A heartbeat later, thunder roared so loud it rattled the glasses. Elias drew his revolver first. The sound of steel clearing leather froze every man. His hand didn't shake. His aim never faltered. "The first man who touches her," he said, "doesn't live to see dawn." The silence after was absolute. Even Harper hesitated, measuring pride against survival. At last he spat on the floor and sat. Elias lowered the barrel but didn't holster it. His chest heaved, breath ragged with more than fury. He turned back to Anna, his voice quieter. "You don't have to run anymore. Not from me." Her eyes softened, just for a moment. "And if I can't forgive?" He swallowed, the storm's echo rolling through his words. Then let me walk beside your pain. That's enough. Outside, rain finally fell, hard, cleansing, drumming against the roof like the beating of 100 drums. Anna stood still, torn between the weight of her scars and the pull of something she thought long buried. She did not speak, but she did not leave. And in that silence, in that fragile pause, fate gave them both a second chance.